What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment. And I wanted to go into the BMW Championship as part of the PGA Tour. I think, based off even how the announcers talk, they know how many people are gambling. And it's funny because if you go to the Twitter page, whenever they put out an announcement, whether it's like a weather delay or some type of announcement on a player, 80% of the comments are completely catered around people's bets. So they'll be like, oh, that's great because I have money on him, or how long's the weather delay going to be? I have money on this, etc. So I think, again, the best player winning is just a red herring. Yes, Rory and Scotty, they're going to get their wins, but I don't think it's going to, and Rahm, these guys, they're going to get their wins. But I mean, Rahm's been playing terrible. Haven't watched too much, but from what I've seen, he hasn't even been in the mix. See Ricky Fowler, he recently won one, and it was right when they started painting him as this comeback guy, like, oh, he left for a while and wasn't winning. Well, it's the case for almost every golfer. They go through stretches of not winning. They really started pushing the narrative, and then we actually predicted Wyndham Clark winning. It wasn't before it happened. I think it was after the second round. He was like 5-6 back, but I liked this story because he was from Denver, and the Nuggets had just won. So then Wyndham won. Then I think another guy won, and then I think Ricky got his. And now we have another story. We actually have two stories. So I want to give a shout out to Big Z in the Discord because I first brought this up, and I was like, all right, who can we rule out for the BMW Championship here? And I was like, the first guy we can rule out immediately is Lucas Glover because he just won 2 in a row. And he brought to my attention, he said, well, it's in Illinois. And the three-peat narrative is pretty strong. So this is last year's tournament. It was in Wilmington. And what's interesting is we have 2 three-peats going. Okay, so we have Cantlay, who's going for a three-peat win at the BMW Championship. And we have Glover, and this one hasn't been done much longer. I think it's been like 13 years. Glover, I don't think Glover's as long as Cantlay's, but it's still pretty long, is going for the first just 3 tour wins in a row. I believe the last one was Stricker back in 2011 or something. So I think Cantlay and Glover both have a very strong story. And I think it might come down to them too, because if it's interesting how the last tournament came down to Glover and Cantlay. And if we look at the last tournament, the last BMW tournament, Glover basically finished the absolute worst, outside of 2 guys, one who he withdrew in the third round. So really, of the 2 people who finished, him and Kim, he finished second to worst, and then Cantlay won the entire thing. And now this year we have, obviously, they just, in the very last tournament, played each other, and it was within 1 stroke. Glover was able to beat him in a playoff, as you can see. So I find it very interesting. I think we're going to have our guys like Rory's and our Spieths in the top, 10. I think Scheffler has a much better performance than he just had. Schoeffel probably does better. So I think we're going to have more of the people that we're used to seeing. But I can't the three-peat narrative. So I really do I like them both, to be honest. So I was going over this in my Discord, how essentially I'm just going to probably play 4 golfers, okay? Because they're all paying 10 to 1 or better, essentially. I'm liking 50 on wherever he's at. Well, I like 50 on, obviously, Lucas Glover. Last I checked, he was getting 40 to 1. So obviously that's 2,000. Yeah, so he's 40 to 1. I also do like Cantlay. He's obviously not getting as great odds, but 50 on him is still fine, obviously. 600, so there's no problem with that. And I'm still looking at the 3rd and 4th. Matsuyama was brought up to me, the prospect of him. He's Asian, obviously, everything going on in Maui. I'm not sure. I've seen stuff like that happen recently, and it hasn't really been reflected. I'm looking at Spieth after having a rough tournament. But my main takeaway from this is, yeah, I like Cantlay, and I like Glover. I think one of these 2 is going to win this tournament, and there's going to be a three-peat in Illinois for the first time in a long time. And again, when Big Z brought that up to me, I thought about it more and more. And what made it really interesting is the fact, again, these 2 just played each other. They were playing in a tie break. They've done this on the tour a few times where two guys that are like really going back and forth, or one guy just beats the other. It seems like in the next tournament they're both right there in the thick of things, and the other guy does it. So it'll be interesting. But I like Glover and Cantlay, and what I'm personally doing is I'm going to find two other guys and do 50 on them each. Then if any of them wins, obviously I'm good. I'm strongly considering Spieth for my third guy, if you wanted to know. I mean, that's really going to come down to kind of like a crapshoot. For me, the narrative is about Cantlay and Glover. So if they are not to come through, I have another guy, Spieth. And then I'm reserving the fourth 50 to hedge. So after round 2 or something, they're all probably going to be plus 200 unless some guy's running away with it. I'll drop that last 50 on a guy that I think is going to win, if it's not one of those guys already. So that's basically how I do golf. I've done pretty good doing it that way, getting a little bit in early, but then saving some hedge money. The only way it really gets you is if, one guy comes out of nowhere. Cantlay almost did it this tournament. If one guy comes out of nowhere and just, beats all the guys you have and the guy you hedged, which could happen, of course. But again, my main takeaway is Glover's being pushed as, again, this guy that just had a complete 180 turnaround. He almost missed a cut, and now he's looking at a possible 3 in a row. They're crediting it all to his new putter and a few other attributes. He's also trending a little bit because I guess he sweat a little bit in his pants, and he got a case of the swamp ass, as they're calling it. So, he's kind of going viral for that reason. But they're really trying to paint him as like this just everyman. I guess everyone can relate to that. So I have my eye on Lucas Glover, and yeah, with winning, I don't think it's the odds. Maybe you're just better at a course. I guess that could be the case. But to win and then the next year to win on that same course, when obviously you're not going to win that many total throughout the year, seems pretty coincidental. So when guys do it a couple times, I feel like it's kind of a way of them saying this is that person's course. So that's why I like Cantlay as a great backup to possibly win his third in a row at the BMW. I don't like Scotty, Rory, or Rahm. I don't think either of them are going to do it. I think Schroff will have a decent performance, but I don't think he's going to win it. I don't think Fleetwood's going to win it. Homa's an interesting one. He always, you never really know what to expect. I could see him doing well. But yeah, like I said, it's really about Cantlay and Glover. If I absolutely had to, it would probably be Spieth is probably going to be my third guy, and then I'm going to hedge the fourth guy will be on day 2. So say on day 2, Tom Kim or just anyone really, just someone that I think makes sense. Matsuyama, say they're in the lead or like 1 or 2 out with a couple guys that I just don't think are going to do it, then I'm going to hedge and put the last 50 on them. And obviously you can use that discretion yourself depending on whoever's sitting where, whatever story you think makes the most sense. You can hedge however you feel free. But yeah, I think it's a story of the three-peat. So Glover and Cantlay. Obviously I prefer Glover because we're getting much better odds. I think there's more of a story around him. But again, I can't ignore that it's in Illinois, and we have 2 possible three-peat perspectives. So I would definitely do the 2 of them. And I don't know why I like Spieth. I think it's because they were showing him with potential this last tournament. He just didn't quite have it. So I feel like they're only going to show him doing a little bit better going forward. So if it's not this one, I think in the very near future he will be winning a tournament. But it's really, again, can't reiterate enough. And Big Z brought this to my attention when I said, Glover, no way. And he's like, well, think about it for a second. Then I started thinking about the three-peat potential and the fact that Glover did so bad last time, and him and Cantlay just finished neck and neck. I mean, unless they both do terrible, which I don't think is going to happen, I think they're both going into day 4 in contention. So, yeah, Cantlay and Glover are my guys. Now, if I had to absolutely pick one over the other, I don't know which three-peat is more important. Because of the story and because of how far he's risen, I would say Glover over Cantlay. But it's certainly not one that, I'm going to be picking a prop on one guy to beat the other. I think they both are going to have good tournaments. And hopefully just one does it, because if one does it, we're good. So hopefully they have nice leads at the end of round 1. So that's just what I think. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. And take care and happy earnings.